Hello, you guys. How are you all? I don't know where where Jen's at. I don't. She had to. Hello, you guys. Thank you for being here. Hey, Tiff. Hey, Inspector Gadget. Hey, Tonka Girl. Hey, Nadine, Corey, Spicy Housewife, Mama Bear. Hey, Deb. Can you guys hear me? Jen would have put me up here, so I hope she's okay. Oh, okay. She had to fix something real quick. How are you guys? It's such a beautiful day here where I'm at today. I think it's going to be like 85. Let's see. Hey, Corky. Hey, Ramblin' Rome. Yes, I can hear you. Okay, good. So today we're going to talk about Melanie Gibb's testimony. I'm looking, or we're going to listen to it, and I'm looking forward to that. I know that I followed along, with the live tweets me and Jen did with you guys, but I haven't actually heard it, the audio yet. So just a few minutes of what we listened to over here. Hey, True Crime Crazy. They said a day or two before they give the results, so I'm just waiting. I don't know because it's Saturday, kind of what to expect. Oh, yeah, Inspector Gadget. I live right on the water in the Outer Banks, but not on the ocean, on the sound. But yeah, it's a beautiful day in Ontario, Canada, and then 35 in Minnesota. Holy moly, Tonka girl. When does it start warming up there? Nadine, I saw that your box is almost at Miss Lou's house. I cannot wait for her to get it because, yeah, they're just so good. I know she's gonna love them. Yeah. So, and then we have there all the audio from Zulema. I don't know if we're gonna talk about some of that. Kind of waiting to hear from Jen, but I'm in PA. It's 60. Yeah. Hopefully well, 62 is not too bad. At least it's not the, like where Tonka Girl is, but you say 65 yesterday. Huh. Thelma's Louise. I love your name, Thelma's Louise. Thank you for entertaining me while at work. Tax day right around the corner. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here. I have to fix this really, really quick. Um, Talk and let me hear
Okay.
it. Oh, there it goes. Okay.
Okay.
I can't be streaming in the living room today where my normal stream comes from because everybody's home. And so I'm in the bedroom, but I
Right.
forgot how to rehook up this. I thought, oh, I'll just plug the headphones in like I had it before, but I forgot there's a splitter thing you have to use. And so at the last minute, I was like, why is it coming out of? Sorry, you guys, super unprofessional. I had all morning to prepare for this. I just forgot that one little step. But
Oh,
welcome
it ain't
in.
no
I'm
big
so
deal.
glad to I'm so glad to see everybody. Um, so, what I thought we would do today, I have spent the morning actually listening to a really great interview on hidden true crime. They interviewed about 5 months ago, they interviewed Heather Daybell, who is Chad Daybell's sister in law. She is, sorry, married to one of Chad's brothers. And I got so sucked into listening to that, I really thought like this was going to be no biggie. I'll just but I forgot about the splitter thing. I'm so sorry, but at some point, I do absolutely want to talk about that. I only got through parts 1 and 2. There's 3 parts, but it's really, really good. There's a lot of information in it, and at some point we have, I think, to go over it because just parts of it, like the big parts, because it really explains some of well, not some, a lot of the family dynamic, and I found it to be fascinating. So, that's what we're gonna play. I'm just going to hold on a second. All right, I'm gonna use this one unless I can find. All right, here it is. All right, so
We
today
all
we're
have
gonna
heard it.
do what, babe?
Hello. Can you hear
Can you
me?
hear me? I can hear you. Can
Okay.
you
I
hear
didn't
me?
know if you could hear me. Yes. Yes. But I have these headphones on, so I didn't know if it was like my audio was low. But I can't wait to hear that. I know when you sent it this morning, I haven't watched it yet because I just saw it a few minutes ago. But yeah, I think that'll be really interesting to hear.
It's incredibly interesting. So I'm gonna start the I bless East Idaho News. Let me put the video, which is really the audio, in the chat so that this is where it is, and then I gotta update obviously the description when we get to after we're finished. But thank goodness for them because they clipped it just her testimony instead of the full day because I don't really want to hear the full day. But before we completely get started, we got to hear a word from our sponsor real quick and then we'll get started. Okay. All right. Here we go. Where is it? Here it is.
And Kai, when you're on Jen Lou's channel, what do you do with the like button?
Smash, smash, smash! Yeah.
Yeah.
Cancel already. Smash that like button. You. Oh,
Yeah.
Kai. You're so silly. Of course, now we're having audio issues or whatever. I'm over it. We're just going to get through it as best we can. I'm going to put on the closed captioning. So even if the sound does get a little wonky, the closed captions will be on there, hopefully, and it won't be any big deal. Let me get over to that and we'll just get started. There we go. All right. All right. So here we go. Turn it up.
Me,
That
an
might
individual
help.
named Tylee Ryan.
Yes.
Thank you. And Miss Gibb, sometimes we've had a hard time picking witnesses, so the court reporter may instruct you or tell you if she's having a hard time hearing you, okay? Would you please state your name for the record?
Melanie Gibb.
Miss Gibb, do you know an individual named Lori Vallow?
Yes.
How do you know her?
I met her in Arizona at a church event,
Do you recall approximately when you met her?
October 2018.
And when you met her at that event, did the two of you end up forming a friendship?
Yes.
Do you know an individual named Chad Daybell?
Yes.
And how do you know him?
I met him at some of different events that I've been to.
Do you recall approximately when you would have met Mr. Daybell?
I think I met him maybe a year or two before I met Lori.
When you first met Mr. Daybell, did you strike up a friendship that time?
Just a casual just introduction to each other.
After your first meeting with Ms. Bell, did two of you stay in contact?
I would see it was very periodically. It was not like we communicated as if we engaged, seeing each other, we might say a few words to each other. No, not a whole lot of contact.
And after you first met Lori, did the two of you continue communicating from that first meeting?
Yes.
Did you stay in constant contact or consistent contact?
Yes.
Have you ever met or did you ever meet an individual named Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
And where did you meet her?
I met her at Lori's house.
Do you recall approximately when that would have been?
I would say within a week or two after I met Lori.
Did you ever observe Lori and Tylee together?
Yes.
What were you able to observe about their interactions?
She seemed upset and frustrated with Lori pretty much most of the time.
So, and when you say she, you're referring to Tylee?
Tylee, correct.
Did there appear to be some tension in that relationship?
Okay, first of all, right off the bat, what I notice is here comes Melanie being far too eager, and she had this problem when she testified in the in Chad's preliminary hearing. She doesn't wait for the question to finish being asked before she answers. And
Yep.
it drives me nuts when people do that because it's hard on the court reporter when people talk over one another, number 1. And number 2, what it really does is gives the impression that the witness has been highly, highly prepped because she's already answering before the question is finished. Although Melanie, um, sort of, I mean, they're right over top of each other almost, so it's not. I don't think she's been really prep that much, honestly. And there's nothing wrong with prepping a witness at all, preparing them. It's what you want to do. It's a court setting is not a fun setting, right? You're nervous
Yeah.
about it. And this is not like, this is a big deal. There are, 2 children and 2 adults who are unalive. Their lives were taken from them. This is a serious matter. And I want to say this before we really get too far underway. Most of you guys know who listen to me and who listen to Allie. There will be times that Melanie will say something so ridiculous that I make a joke about it at her expense, not at the expense of the crime. Nobody, no, I shouldn't say, not nobody. What I should say is this. I take the crime that happened seriously. What I don't take seriously is Melanie Gibb. So I just want to clarify that. And I never intend to offend anybody, but we're going to keep going. And I know we already listened to the first 10 minutes the other night, but just in case you weren't here, I kind of wanted to start
Yeah.
fresh.
That's a
All
good
right.
idea. And I just wanted to tell you, they did mention something about like her being prepped. They did it on Zoom, but they don't, like you said, I think that's normal. I don't, they do that. They have to do that with everybody, go over the line of
Mm-hmm.
questioning, and they have to talk to them to even know what questions to ask them, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but it does make
Exactly.
it sound rehearsed. It's off putting.
The only time to me it's incredibly problematic would be if, let's say, it's the defendant, like with Ezra McCandless, for example. She was answering the question, and before her attorney, she still had like 3 more words she was going to say before, but Ezra was already answering. And that you don't want them to come off rehearsed, especially, the defendant, to the jury. The
Yeah,
jury is a little bit more forgiving with witnesses for the state, but they're not as forgiving when it comes to the defense as far as the actual defendant. And then, of course, if somebody is like testifying for the state because they got a plea deal, then you don't want them to sound too rehearsed either. All right, so let's keep going because it's the total is like 3 hours. I'm good for like 2, and then we'll finish it up. I promise.
okay.
We're going to go through all of it. I promise you. I'm not going to not comment on Melanie Shebangs Gibb's testimony. Her name is Gibb.
Relationship.
Yes,
Did you ever meet an individual named JJ Vallow?
I did.
And,
Yes.
and where would you have met him if you recall?
Same place, Lori's house,
Do you recall approximately when you would have met him?
within a week or 2 after meeting her.
Did you have occasion to observe Lori and JJ's interactions with each other?
I did.
What observations were you able to make of those interactions?
So sometimes I would watch her with him, and she was very affectionate and loving to him. I watched her sing a song to him as she was going to put him to bed. She seemed to care a lot about him. Other times, as I got to know her as time went on, he seemed to, frustrated, and so the connection, maybe wasn't as. I didn't see them interacting as much the same way. She was a lot, so I don't know how to explain it very well, but it was she was just trying to help him, trying to settle down or whatever. But
So from your observations, JJ and Lori appeared to interact more when you had first met JJ.
correct.
And it seems like those interactions declined over time.
I would say a little bit. I mean, but
I think you indicated from
yeah.
your observations, Lori was busy with some other things or
Yeah, it's just distracted a lot.
distracted.
Yeah, I mean, plotting the deaths of 4 people is busy work.
After
It
first
can be
meeting Lori, we've
distracting.
talked about that you stayed in contact with her. How often would the two of you see each other?
Sometimes it was daily or several times a week in the beginning, just in the very beginning. Yeah.
And when you say in the very beginning, do you recall approximately how long the two of you would interact that frequently?
I would say until January. And then when she started moving, then I didn't see her as much or talk to her as much.
And when you say January, do you recall what year that would have been?
2019.
Did you and Lori live fairly close to each other?
I would say within 20, 25 minutes from each other.
And did the two of you, you talked about you'd get together.
Mhm.
Did you also speak to her over the phone during this? Did you also message her, text message or otherwise?
Yes.
Ms. Gibb, I would instruct you again, if you could just until the question is completed before you answer, and I understand it can be nervous to be there. It's just easier for our court reporter if it's just a back and forth exchange. So thank you.
And you indicated, I think, that after she started moving, could you explain what was going on there?
So about January, she decided to leave, and I believe she first went to Alex's house, or maybe Hawaii. They kind of were near the same timing, so she decided to leave and stay with him, and then she went to Hawaii, and then eventually she went to Texas. So she went to 3 different places, and they went to Arizona at the very end, as her state that I knew.
So you indicated January. Do you recall when you at the end, approximately when the end was that she ended up, what time period she was moving around?
So January, February, March, May, and then July. I know she was back when Charles was killed in July, so I know she was back in Arizona by July. So all the way from January, she was.
And around, did you stay at her?
Yes.
Was that frequent contact? Do you recall approximately how often you'd speak with her or text with her?
It was inconsistent, but it was pretty frequent at the same time. So it wasn't like a consistent daily basis, but it was often.
And after meeting Lori, you indicated you met her in October of 2018. Did the two of you end up taking a trip to Utah?
Yes.
And who else with you?
There were, I don't know, about 5 or 6 ladies. I can't recall their names right now.
And that's just
Yeah.
fine, just what you can
Yeah,
recall.
I can't recall their names.
So there were 5 or 6 ladies that went to Utah together.
Yes.
Where did you go in Utah?
We went to St. George, Utah.
And what were you headed there for? Was there a reason?
There was a conference there.
And do you recall if Chad Daybell was also at that conference?
He was.
Did you observe a meeting between Chad and Lori?
Yes.
Do you know, had they ever met before?
No.
Were you there when they first met?
I believe so. I was there with her the whole time.
Did they, how long was the conference
That's
that you
a
were at?
different thing that she said
It was
before.
Saturday.
Okay, Melanie, I believe that earlier you had testified in 2020 that you're the one that actually introduced Chad and Lori. And if it wasn't when you testified in 2020, it might have been in an interview that you have given. So whatever.
And then Sunday, most people went home. So it was that weekend.
And do you recall if Chad Daybell was there for the entirety of the conference?
He was there Friday and Saturday.
Thank
Were
you
you
for
and Lori
everybody
there Friday
coming
and
in.
Saturday as well?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I mean, we were in the area till Sunday. We used to.
Jake Hells, it's not just on your end. StreamYard every once in a while will be glitchy and the sound will be a little wonky. That's why I have the closed captions up, because I have to stream in a different part of the house because everybody's home today. So this is why I don't usually do Saturday day. I usually do Saturday night, but I wanted to get everybody an opportunity to have, I wanted to do a nooner for everybody for, different time zones. So I'm sorry. It straightens itself out. It doesn't stay like that for very long. Apologize for that.
Stay at somebody's home, but the conference Friday and Saturday night could have been a Sunday evening, but I can't recall that right now. But he was gone by, if I remember, he was gone morning, night, something like that.
Were you able to observe when Chad throughout the time?
Yes.
And what, if any, observations did you make of their interactions?
They were very friendly to each other, very interactive, talking a lot about some of their ideas and beliefs that they had at that time. And so they were, there was definitely attraction in the beginning, right from the beginning. So.
And did you specifically observe any of Lori's actions towards Chad or how her demeanor appeared?
She seemed very interested in him, like someone that would meet somebody they're attracted to. She seemed flattered by him and very enticed by the conversation and, flirty-like, I would say a little flirty-like as well.
And do you know what Chad Daybell did for a living?
He was an author and a publisher and also a sexton.
And had you ever read any of his books?
I have.
Do you know if Miss Vallow Daybell had read any of his books?
She had.
And do you know if she'd read those books prior to meeting him?
She only read, I think, just a few, but she hadn't read all of his books. And I don't know if she made the connections yet of who he was with the books. I'm not sure about that.
And you indicated that you saw them speaking and they appeared to have some shared interests?
Correct.
And specifically with some religion, some religious talk?
Correct.
Do you recall if they told you anything regarding the two of them?
Yes.
And what was that?
He expressed to her that he believed that they had been married in multiple probations on this.
I'm going to object as a hearsay, Judge. What's the response from the state?
Your Honor, it's a statement of a party opponent.
Not this opponent.
It's a statement of a co-conspirator.
I'm going to
Wow, not this opponent.
801D2E.
So I'll say this. This is why Lori and Chad wanted this they wanted their trials severed. If their trial had not been severed and Chad was sitting at the other defense table, that wouldn't be hearsay. She'd be allowed to testify to it. There would be no objection. I mean, they could object, but I think it would have been overruled. And this, in my opinion, I mean, look, I can't get mad at them for wanting, to try their best to get out of what they've done. I mean, I get it. I mean, I don't support it. I understand it. Right. But,
Right.
I find it interesting here, and I don't know if you noticed this, Allie, but when she's talking about what all Lori knew about Chad prior to meeting him, there's a little tone, I think, to her voice. Well, she had read some of his books, but I don't think she'd read all of his books. I cannot help but feel like Chad was putting the moves on Melanie until Lori came into the picture.
Yep, I agree with you there. I do. And it would explain why Lori stares daggers through Melanie, but when Zulema testifies, they claim that she at some moments even smiles and, acts like you can tell that she still has positive feelings towards her somewhat.
Right. But Melanie, she doesn't.
Mm-mm.
This also explains, I know y'all hear me make this joke a lot, but I can't help it. It's the truth. It also explains that haircut that she gave Melanie. I just really think that's what it was. It's just my opinion. It's not based in any science. It's just, just how I feel.
Does allow statements, furtherance of evidence. That's allowed. Would indicate, I think there may be some additional foundation before getting further into this issue as to whether those statements are allowed. Thank you.
Ms. Gibb, did you have conversations about their first meeting with Chad Daybell?
Have conversations with him? I'm sorry, I'm not understanding.
Did you ever speak to Chad about the first time he met Lori?
Most likely, I just don't remember that exact moment.
So after the first meeting, did you speak to Lori about her meeting Chad?
Correct. Yes.
Is Melanie chewing gum? I mean, I can hear the clickety-clacketing of
And
people
when
tweeting
you
and
were speaking
probably
with
the
Lori,
court reporter, but I
what,
kind
if
of hear
anything, did
some
she
kind of
indicate to you
smacking
that she and Chad had talked about with regard to the two of them?
She shared with me that he told her that they had been married in another time period.
And did she tell you what she believed with regard to that?
She did believe that. She had already had the belief system that this multiple lives, as they would call it, she'd already believed that before she physically met him.
And backing up a little bit to that, how had Miss Vallow Daybell ever told you anything regarding her beliefs of prior probation or multiple creations?
She wasn't quite clear in her understanding at that point. She felt, and she shared with me, that she had been married to a prophet from the Book of Mormon named Moroni.
AJ.
Did she share this information with you before she ever met Chad Daybell?
Yes.
After that conference,
I
did
think I
you end
hear
up
it
staying in
now
contact with Chad
after
Daybell?
listening.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Driving
talked
me
to him,
nuts.
communicated somehow, very periodically, not very often.
Very
I think you already
periodically.
indicated you and Lori would communicate quite frequently.
Melanie, you keep using that word, but I don't think you know what it means.
After that.
She annoys me. This is going to be hard for me,
know
y'all.
if Lori and Chad stayed in touch after that conference.
Yes, they did.
And how do you know that?
That's the fun part.
She would tell me that they talked and how often they talked. And she, I often saw her on the phone talking to him. Occasionally I could hear his voice, but she'd always indicate to me that she was speaking to him.
And how did that make you feel, Melanie? Were you jelly?
When they first met, do you know if Lori was married?
Yes.
And who was she married to?
Charles Vallow.
Do you know if Chad was married?
Yes.
And who was he married to?
Tammy Daybell.
Do you know if their spouses were still alive?
They were.
Corky, I can't. If Chad were the last man on earth and it was just me and him and it was our job to repopulate
We
repopulate
touched
the human race.
a little bit on the idea of multiple
The human race
probations.
is SOL. I'm sorry.
When did you first learn of
Same.
that term?
Probably when I started interacting with Lori is when it really began to be introduced to me.
And Lori's actually
And
a
who
beautiful
started to
woman.
introduce that to you?
She is.
Lori and then Chad, but mostly through Lori, through Chad. He would explain it a lot more than she knew of it.
So would Lori tell you that she and Chad talked about
It's
the
what's
multiple
in
probations?
her heart and her actions
Yes.
that make her ugly. Same
And
with
what was your
Melanie.
understanding of
Yep.
and
Can't
Chad
scream
believed?
over you, counselor. That's rude. I don't want to scream over you, counselor. But I'll say this: with Melanie is not a bad-looking woman. She's actually kind of cute. But what I'll say about her is it's what she did that makes her ugly. I don't really outside is not the important part because those change and anything can happen. But
Yep.
it's their actions, and
Yeah.
they just all have ugly hearts. The end. Sad.
And it does actually change the way you look at them. Like, you might see someone like Lori the first time without knowing her and think she's beautiful. But then after you see her now, after knowing what she's done, you just like, you are one nasty, evil lady, It's just,
Yes. Support with Stefa. We're going to address Chad and his speaking on another live because I found some things and I want you guys all to hear it and tell me what you guys think. But I don't want to say too much about that. We're going to get to it though. Don't you worry.
I do wonder, like, what made her think. Oh, I'm sorry, Jen.
Your girls are on
Their
the
definitions
case.
changed the longer
Yeah.
they knew each other.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to even do that. I was just saying, like, I wonder what made
No, you're
Lori
fine.
even think that Chad was so great, because Charles Vallow was a nice looking man, a hard worker. He loved his family. All he wanted was to take care of them, and I don't know. I don't know what she was thinking.
This is the element of the relationship between them that we're all missing out on. And I think that it is because the only people thus far, okay, that have testified that we've heard from, all right, are people that knew Chad and I mean, Melanie did not know Lori for very long before she met Chad, right? So her testimony about that, you can listen to it or whatever, but who I want to hear from are the people who knew Lori best, and I would like to hear what they think the attraction was. Because what I surmise is that Chad played to her ego. It's one thing for your man to tell you you're a goddess, right? It's another thing for a man to tell you you're a literal and actual goddess, right? You can be a man's goddess, right? You're
Right.
his goddess. But to be an actual, factual, real life goddess, I think that Chad played in many, many ways to Lori's vanity.
Yes,
And
I
I think
completely
that's
agree.
a lot of what attracted him to her. And I think that the other element was that all the things that Chad is talking about, these meetings and stuff like that, even before Chad, were held outside of, they weren't sponsored by the LDS church. Okay. These were somewhat clandestine meetings, right?
Hmm.
And so I think that there is a part of Lori's personality that enjoyed walking that fine line, doing something wrong, but not so wrong. Obviously, she escalated that, and that's why we are where we are today. But in the beginning, I think that's how it started. That's just what
Yes,
I
and
think.
Chad's status in that community. Oh, I'm sorry, we have a little delay, but yeah, his status in the community, I think too, is like to her ego, like you said. He was known to be closer to the veil and have this spiritual experience that many wanted, and people
And
believed that he did.
yes, and here's the thing. This is why I think it's going to be really, really important for us to go over Heather Daybell's interviews, because she really sheds light on that. I did not actually understand all of it, but she really puts it all together and ties it together very, very well about what his standing in the community was as far as Rexburg goes. And I think that is incredibly interesting. Um, that's weird.
What?
It added you without me adding you.
Oh, did I come off of it? Because
You
I couldn't
did.
tell because I was coming back into the Wi-Fi at my house. Ooh,
You did, and it was weird, and then it's I'm gonna have to sage
wait.
this internet because
Did you add me this morning?
yes, this morning I added you, but right now I
Okay.
didn't. It just I heard the little boop and then you were
Oh,
there.
weird.
Isn't it? That's
What?
I must have I wonder if I clicked a
Yeah.
button. Maybe I clicked a button. Maybe
Well,
I
I
did
was
it with
coming
my
back into
mind.
the Wi-Fi, so
That's
I didn't
probably
even
what
know
it
I fell
was.
off. I never. Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably why it did it that way,
I
because you
never set
didn't
stage
actually
on my.
leave. We're putting sage. I'm
Yep.
saging. All right, here we go.
In this earth, you could come back multiple times. So you may live in,
But
earlier
you're
time in the world, and then several depending on you as a person. It would be different for everybody.
After Chad and Lori met in October of 2018, do you know the next time they saw each other in person?
I believe it was 2 weekends later. He came to town for another event that was in Arizona.
I'm gonna let this play for a
Did
little bit, you
you
guys. I'm
attend
gonna
that event?
let the dog
I
out.
did.
I'll be right back. So I
Were both
can't
Lori and Chad
pause
present?
it. So
They
I'll
were.
just be right back.
Do you
Okay?
recall if there
5
was
minutes.
another get together held separate from the event?
Yes. At Lori's house, there was like a little meeting right before the conference.
And do you recall where that meeting took place?
At Lori's house.
Did you observe Lori and Chad together during that meeting?
I don't think he was there. I'm not remembering that. He could have been, but I don't remember.
Did you observe Lori and Chad together during that weekend?
Yes.
And do you recall what, the context of where you observed them together?
So they were at the conference and I saw them interacting. And then whatever time he arrived at her house and he ended up staying at her house.
So your understanding was Chad stayed at Lori's house in Arizona?
That's right.
Do you know if Charles was present during that?
I believe he was out of town.
Do you know if Charles and Lori were still married at that point?
They were.
Do you know if Chad was still married at that point?
Yes, he was.
Do you recall Lori telling you anything in November regarding she and Chad's relationship?
Yes.
And what did she tell you?
She told me that they had been married, I believe, 4 or 5 times. And she would go into different details with me about who she was, what character she was, and what character he was.
Do you recall if she said anything to you about going to the temple?
Yes.
And what did she tell you regarding going to the temple?
She would tell me that, yes, that weekend that he came to Arizona, that they met in the temple together and they were somewhere in there, like in just like maybe a waiting area room, that they were sealed together by, I believe Moroni was there and possibly, I believe she said Jesus Christ, and that relationship they had multiple lives. It was kind of like a reunited again. They got to be sealed there. It wasn't in a sealing room officially done by the church or anything like that.
And can you explain a little bit about the relevance of being sealed?
The teachings of our church talk about when you're sealed to a companion on this earth, that you are sealed for time and all eternity.
And when you say the teachings of our church, are you comfortable sharing what church you're a member of?
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Did Lori share with you how she felt towards Chad at that point?
Yes.
And what did she tell you?
She told me, they very much loved each other. They loved each other. How, in previous mortal probations, there was a lot of affectionate feeling she had for him.
Did she indicate to you anything about whether or not they were going to be open about their feelings for each other?
She just shared how they felt with me. Just open with it with me.
Do you know if they were sharing this information with other people?
Just probably people in their small group of circle. I wouldn't think anybody else.
Outside of multiple probations, did Chad let me back up. Did Lori ever indicate anything about having a special mission here on Earth?
Yes.
And what did she tell you about that?
She felt that she was part of the 144,000. And then as she developed her relationship with Chad, she felt like they were the head leaders of it.
And when you talk about the 144,000, can you explain a little bit about what that would mean?
It's referenced from scripture and the Bible and the Doctrine and Covenants about a group of 144,000 that would be here during the return of our Savior, and they would help do a great missionary work throughout the world. And they would have a lot of a spiritual endowment from on high.
So if someone were to be the head of that 144,000, would that be a pretty high calling?
Absolutely.
Would that be a position of pretty significant power?
Yes.
And when you talk about they may have shared this with their inner circle or their close friends, do you know who that would have included for them?
Yes. It would have included Sulema, Dennis, Serena Sharp, Christina Atwood, Nicole, forgot her last name, Melanie Pulowski. And I believe she told her sister later on, and I don't know how much she shared with her family. I believe that's, and Alex, I don't believe, let's see. Those are the main people.
The members of their little group.
Alex who?
Alex Cox, her brother, Lori's brother.
Do you recall approximately when Lori started talking about being part of the 144,000 or the head of the 144,000?
Right when I met her.
And then I think so. And I guess I should break this down. I kind of asked a compound question there. So she first starts talking about being part of the 144,000 when you first meet her. Would that be correct?
Correct.
And then I think you'd already indicated after she met Chad, she indicated that she and Chad were the heads of the 144,000 or the leaders.
Correct.
Do you recall approximately how long after meeting Chad she started telling you that?
Within weeks, probably.
Do you recall Lori ever telling you about a light and dark scale?
Yes,
Did she ever explain to you what the light and dark scale was?
she did.
And what did she tell you regarding that?
She told me that people that were light were people that before they came to this planet, when we lived in a premortal realm, basically our spirits lived there before we physically came here, that those that signed contracts and made agreements with the Savior were light, and those that were dark were those that signed contracts with Satan.
Do you recall when she first started telling you about light and dark, the light and dark scale?
It was sometime after she met Chad, that few weeks when she met him. I would say probably pretty immediate. It feels like it was like it could have been possibly that weekend or just days after that, after she met him.
All right, let's digest what we just listened to. Okay, Melanie, now I put this in the chat, but I feel like I need to say this out loud and just put it in the universe. Their little circle, their circle of friends, or small circle of friends, or small circle. Ma'am, you were part of that small circle. Stop playing with these people. That was your crew. That's who you rolled with. Those were your homies. Please stop playing with these people out here. It's insulting to everybody. We don't appreciate it. Stop trying to distance yourself, Melanie. We all know you were all up in the mix.
And remember, we're going to dig in a little deeper to what exactly they may have been doing, some more of what this group was doing, and their, yeah, remember about the we were talking about the other day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I want to say also this too, which I find to be very, very interesting. Have you ever noticed that these cult leaders, they're always putting themselves just like like Jesus is their direct supervisor. Okay. And I'm not making fun of religion or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, they're always at the tippity top, right? Jesus is their direct supervisor, essentially. They never put themselves in a less than a management level position. Do you know what I'm saying? They're always at the top of the pyramid. And it drives, like, maybe be a little humble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's how they get to, that's how they're the powerful, cult leader.
But you know what? Maybe it's just my
Management
brain,
position.
and my brain works weird, but I would find it so much more believable. I'm already not cult material. I think we've all established this. I ask way too many upfront questions and then follow-up questions based on the answers to the first set of questions. So we've already established I'm not cult material. I know this about myself, but
Yeah.
I do think that I could maybe be taken in if one of these cult leaders was like a drone. Do you know what I mean? Like, if they were lower on the totem pole, I might find them more relatable, you know?
Yeah. Look at Tia's comment. And hey, Checkmate Humanity. Tia says, how does Jesus have all this time to set and sign contracts? I feel like this could be outsourced. He has bigger things, in my opinion. You guys are so silly.
You guys are. You guys are. And welcome everybody coming in. I
Hey,
see you
Wolfie.
guys. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Make sure you leave your touch DNA on that like for me, because that really does help with the algorithm. All right, let's hear more of Melanie Gibb and her
Fib.
cockamamie. Melanie Gibb the fib. Here we go.
And when she would tell you these things, would she also be teaching about this?
Correct.
Did you observe her teaching any other people these things?
Yes.
And do you recall who else you observed her teach these things to?
I teach them to the girls that I mentioned earlier, her brother, and just a few other friends that I did podcast with.
about light and dark evolve over time?
They did.
What else did Lori end up telling you regarding someone that was dark?
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
What else did Lori tell you regarding someone that was dark?
I wonder how I would land on
At
that
first,
light
it
to
was,
dark
they
scale.
were working under the contract of Satan. And so they were more on that dark side. And it would change, often more and more. But
4.9 dark.
Could someone switch from being light to dark or dark to light?
I'm pretty sure I'd be full scale demon.
I believe so. I believe that's my memory, yes.
Yes.
And when, just backing up a little bit, when we talk about that inner circle, do you recall if Brandon Boudreaux was part of that circle?
Do you mean like sharing the beliefs with?
Yes.
Or no, we didn't share. She didn't share, or Chad didn't share with him, any of that information.
Let's stop right there. That was a huge tell. And it's paused right there on the screen for in perpetuity. We didn't share. We. There you go. That's the truth of the matter.
Yep.
We.
Because yeah, and it is. And that is why I think that's why I have so much anger towards her. Because one, she plays off, I'm like Little Miss Innocent, and she really is not. And two, she is a huge part of how they got away with this as long as they did.
Correct.
Period.
Correct. Melanie.
Information that I know of. I mean, she could, but I don't remember it.
Do you recall Brand ever been any meetings or gathers where you were there?
I don't recall that.
Did you ever talk to Brandon about anything Lori was telling you?
No, not during show. No.
Allie, babe, you're naked up here on the stream.
What about Charles
you have a
Vallow? Was he
profile
present
pickup.
for any of the teachings or the gatherings or the meetings?
No.
Okay.
Do you believe
hold
that
on.
Lori would have considered him part of an inner circle?
Hey.
No.
Did Lori ever tell you anything with regard to an individual being possessed?
Yes.
And what did she tell you regarding that?
So my first experience with her sharing that with me was, she was in, I believe it was the second house that I met her in. So it was probably, the January time of 2019. And she first started telling me she was in the backyard of her house. She came in and she started sharing all the information she just heard from Chad. Chad let her know that Charles Vallow was taken over by an evil spirit. And that was the first time she had heard of it. And then, it made him dark, according to them.
And that was in January of 2019?
I believe that is correct.
Did Lori talk to you about a dream she had had?
Yes.
And what did she tell you regarding the dream?
Let me just stop right here and add. Allie, there she is. There's that pretty face. Much better, Allie. Okay. Post rapture, I don't think so. I think Streets of Gold, they're preparing for it. The rapture is end times, right? I'm a heathen. I mean, look, I was raised Catholic. But I identify as, I try to be a good person. I don't really have a specific religion. I don't claim a specific religion. I believe I'm more spiritual. I believe in being good. I try every day to be better than I was the day before. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. I have done some, I just feel like that's where I'm at with it. But I respect everybody's belief system. I never judge. The only time I get judgy about it is when is like in a situation like this where their belief system is used to justify taking lives, because that's not acceptable to me, period.
Yep. I agree. And I'm the same way, exactly the same. I do believe in God. I'm more spiritual though than religious. And I just think I don't get caught up in a lot of that because I just want to be a good person, do the right thing, be honest, treat people right, that kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. But there, I will say maybe one night when we're over, maybe this would be a better conversation to have on like Real Talk, Allie. We should do that one night. Maybe just
Yeah.
something to keep in the back of your mind. Maybe we talk about this a little bit. But
Yeah, I'd love that.
yeah, I think let's keep going.
Dream she had around that time.
Okay.
Here we
So
go with her
she
big
shared with me
dream.
that Charles, he was getting ready to go to Texas, and I don't know if he was there already, but that she had saw him in a car accident. I believe JJ might have been with him in the car accident, but that he died in it. And so he would not be coming back home by January 1st.
And do you know if JJ was with Charles during that time?
He was.
And do you know if JJ would have been traveling back with Charles?
Yes, he was.
Do you know if Charles was in an accident at that time?
He was not.
Did you ever talk to Lori about the fact Charles was not in an accident?
Yes, I did.
What did she tell you regarding that?
Hold on, Melanie, before you get to that point. Okay, can I just say something really quick? You know what I find annoying about Melanie Gibb? There's a lot of things, but let me just state this one real quick. This is a person who's run a podcast, okay? Has she never listened back to her podcast where she's all up on the mic, like she's eating the mic, and learned from that? I have. I've listened back to myself in the early days and I'm like, okay, now I know what I need to do. Meanwhile,
Oh,
she's
yeah.
over here eating the mic, breathing into the mic, chewing her gum into the mic. Melanie, I know that's
Yeah,
petty and has
my
nothing to
beginning
do
days,
with anything.
my first days were the audio was horrible too. That's just the truth. But I don't know. Some people can't listen to their own voice, and it's okay to be a little petty towards evil people, Jen Lou. That's okay.
Oh, let me drop Nadine's link. If you use the code Queen of Roasts, you will get a discount. There it is. There's her link.
I think it's one word too. The code, like, so no spaces in between.
Yeah,
of
no
and queen.
spaces. One word, Queen of Roasts. I need to update the Nightbot. That's my bad. Queen of Roasting. There you go. Thank you, Nadine. All right, here we go. Here we go.
I asked her what happened. You shared that you thought he was going to pass away. And she said he didn't because Satan interfered with the plan.
And when she talked about the plan, did she tell you whose plan it was?
She would talk about just from her own experiences. Often she would either have what she would call revelation about different experiences with Charles, or maybe she would also talk about her experiences with Chad and how they envisioned getting together, that their spouses would pass away. So that was the plan that was revealed to them. They believed that their spouses would pass away.
I'm so
With
excited,
the idea being
Nadine.
that once their spouses passed away, they could be together.
I'm so excited. I keep listening for the mail.
Correct.
Based on what Lori was telling you, was it your understanding as well, because he would need to pass away?
Correct.
Do you recall Lori ever talking to you about castings?
Yes.
What did she tell you regarding castings?
So she would say that she was trying to understand how to get these evil spirits out. And so her attempt to do that was to have like a prayer where she would, like you maybe would read from the scriptures, where you would try to encourage the spirit to come out by the power of God.
Seeing red flags. I don't think that 11-year-olds could be this
Did you ever participate
dark.
in their castings or observe them?
Yes.
Do you recall when that would have been?
January
Back up
2009.
off the mic,
After,
Melanie.
she learned that Charles was dark. So sometime after that.
And I apologize because you may have already said this, but was
Okie
Charles the
dokie,
first
combat.
individual that you ever heard Lori
Eh.
call dark?
Yes.
Do you recall where that casting would have taken place?
The first time I recall was at Sulema's house.
Ooh, let me look at
Do you
that,
recall who
Charnel.
was
Hold
present
on.
for that?
Lori, Sulema, Christina, Nicole, Serena, and me.
And those are some of the same individuals you'd previously mentioned. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I just
And you
looked.
talked about casting being
Okay, I just looked. Zulema, when she takes the stand, she isn't wearing glasses and her hair is a bit longer and she is wearing like a seafoam green shirt. So it's not on East Idaho anyway. That's what their picture looks like.
kind of a prayer. Was there any other element to the cast?
I guess so. It was definitely out of context for what I would, see anybody talk about in a spiritual level in any religion, but they would use terminology that to me sounded kind of like energy work. And so they would try to share words like disconnect or chords, like a chord was something you connect your spirit to your body, something like that. They use different elements and words. I didn't use those type of words. I just talked about, my relationship with Christ. And so I don't recall exactly how everybody spoke those words, but it was their attempt to help convince the spirit to leave the body.
And so to back up a little bit, when we talk about to convince a spirit to leave the body, would that be the evil spirit or the presence that had come in, or would that be the actual individual spirit?
It would be the spirit that took over that particular person's body.
Do you recall what Lori told you regarding what the original spirit from that body was?
I think I have an overlay, Charnel, of Gibb.
They would be,
Hold on.
I believe it was in either in the spirit world or spirit prison. I can't remember in the beginning. That's where they would be stuck sometimes in this world and that world. It kind of changed a lot, so I'm sorry if I'm not real accurate, but it was either they were on the other side, that they had moved on in the spirit world, or either somehow they were stuck or something like that.
And you're just fine. I'm just asking for what you recall.
Okay.
And I recognize
This is Melanie. She's in the chair there. That's what Melanie looks like.
What you do though is the original spirit is out of the body.
Correct.
The physical body is still alive.
Correct.
And another entity or spirit is in that body.
Correct.
Do you recall what she told you regarding the other spirit, the evil spirit, the entity is?
Yeah, right.
What would happen?
So they thought they were able to cast out this first spirit that took over Charles's body, whose name was Ned. When that spirit left, so they weren't sure how it worked. And so after they believed Ned left, then they would see that Charles was still alive. And then they would come up with another idea that maybe another spirit, and then they come up with another name that spirit was the one that took over his body.
And when you say they would come up with, this wasn't something that you were told all at once then?
Oh, no.
So as time went on, teachings evolved?
Absolutely.
And you refer to when Ned leaves Charles' body, another entity or spirit comes in?
Correct.
Did they give that a name that you recall, or did Lori ever refer to that entity by any name?
Yes.
And what was that?
Then after Ned, it was Garrick, I believe. Maybe Garrett.
And then what happened?
Okay. Now, I have to say here that I am fascinated by the names of these dark entities. Okay? Because they're so very common, and I was
Garrett.
The way that
Garrett. There's
Derek,
the
Ned. There is one Hippolos. That's honestly, I think the Hippolos. Okay, that actually sounds like one of the enemies, the bad guys on freaking Spyro the Dragon. I'm pretty sure that one of them is a Hippolos. I think that's what they're called. But
it does sound more like legit than, I don't know, Hillary, Viola, Ned, Garrett.
Yes, exactly. Mel, whatever. My dark entity is called Cadbury. I had a bunny rabbit several when the kids were very, very little, and he was a little brown bunny, so sweet, and his name was Cadbury. That's just a little side note
for a bunny, but
Garrett. Isn't it though? Isn't it? I thought I was pretty clever. I used to have a fish named Gil too. That was his name.
Fish named Gil. Oh my God, Jen.
I'm pretty clever.
Then he literally was out in.
I did not eat my Mel.
If I think it's the final one, was something like he blows?
No, a real one. Yeah, babe.
And I think you said you participated in a few castings. Did you participate in any other castings regarding Charles?
Yeah, there was several with Charles, yes. Mm-hmm.
Were those castings done as new spirits would come in?
Yes.
Do you recall if Lori indicated whether or
Oh,
not the original
Tia.
spirit could ever come back into the body?
No, I don't recall that.
I don't need my friend smell Mal. That's why I could never
Do you
be a
recall if
farmer.
I say they, do you recall if Lori ever used the term zombie?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately when she used that term?
It wasn't in the beginning, but I would say weeks after the original idea that someone taken over the body, they just started using that terminology. I would just say weeks after that.
They started. Hold on a minute.
And with that,
Let me just stop you right there, Melanie. I mean, this is going to take us forever to get through because her stuff is just so preposterous to me. They started using. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like one of the necessary elements to be in Charles or Chad and Lori's little circle of friends was that you believe what they believe. So if you're
Yeah.
not using the same terms and words that they're using, wouldn't that be a big red flag? And perhaps you would be removed from the inner circle, ma'am.
Yep, absolutely. But just a minute ago it was we. So whatever, Melanie.
Correct.
Stop trying to
We
distance
is
yourself.
this is the thing. The we, because she corrected herself. The we is the truth. The we is the truth. This is her trying to create distance. No, ma'am. No.
Yep, absolutely.
you talked about participating in several castings on Charles. We
Yes.
talked about who was at the first one. Do you recall if it was the same individuals at the next casting?
There could have been different, I mean, not different people generally, but just maybe less of the group. I know that there was another lady, but I don't even remember her name, just shortly.
Do you recall if Lori was present for all of the castings you were at?
Yeah. Yes.
And was she present?
Yes.
Just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you recall
Huh.
if Chad was present at any of the castings?
I can recall one. It could have been more, but I can recall one.
And the one that you recalled Chad at, was that a casting for Charles?
Charles had already passed away. It was right after his death.
Do you recall
Corky,
which
that's cute.
Well, you did castings for or participated in castings?
I'm not quite sure. It feels like it could have been
Wait,
Brandon Boudreaux,
hold
but
on, Jen.
Okay,
that's-
okay.
that's what I can remember.
Oh,
At first, I was like, "Who voice?"
okay.
I got
20
crap.
And two
She
It
said
feels
that, oh, sorry. She said that
Go ahead.
Chad participated in
No, you're
one.
fine. You're fine. I just had to fix
Oh,
it.
our delay is off.
So we're
Hold on. Our delay is so bad. I'm so sorry, Jen. Even just now, like I could hear after, yeah, the delay is very bad. I think it's like 20 seconds. I'm actually going to leave and come back in after I say this. But she said that Chad participated in one casting, but the casting was after Charles had already passed away. And I think she said possibly Brandon Boudreaux. I don't know though. That's quite interesting. I wouldn't. He only participated in one, and it wasn't Charles.
right.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be the
So
one that
Lori
you?
was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you be the one? Wouldn't that be the one that you would absolutely want to participate in because you've got to cast out this evil spirit because it's in the closest vicinity to your goddess?
Yeah. And yeah, and he's the strongest one. By the time Hiplos took over, it was this. I don't know. I'm surprised by that. That's kind of interesting. And then that shows more of, like you said about Lori, Lori, a lot of people go back and forth over who is really in charge here. Is it Chad? Is it Lori? Is it both of them? I think it's both from time to time, depending
I
on what
think
it
they
is. But
switch. Mm-hmm. I
mhm,
think they switch.
yeah,
I
I
do.
agree. Okay, sorry
I
about
mean,
that. And I'm
no,
going to
babe,
come
you're
back in
fine.
because the delay.
Okay, babe. All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's push play while we wait for Allie.
And with that, you talked about participating in several castings on Charles. We
Yes.
talked about who was at the first one. Do you recall if it was the same individual at this casting?
There could have been different, I mean, not different people generally, but just maybe less of the group. I know that there was another lady, but I don't even remember her name anymore, but I think she was there very shortly.
Do you recall if Lori was present for all of the castings you were at?
Yeah. Yes.
And was she present?
Yes.
Just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Do you recall if Chad was present at any of the castings?
I can recall one. It could have been more, but I can recall one.
And the one that you recall Chad at a casting for Charles?
Charles had already passed away.
Do you recall who else you did castings for or participated in castings?
I'm not quite sure. It feels like it could have been Brandon Boudreaux, but
It's Mel. It's like exorcism.
that's what I can remember.
Do you recall if Lori ever told you that Brandon Boudreaux was dark?
Yes.
Do you recall if she ever told you
Play.
whether or not he had an evil spirit in him?
Yes,
And did she indicate that he did have an evil spirit?
she did.
Do you recall if Lori told you anything else about Brandon Boudreaux?
Yes, so it evolved. And so he was, I believe he would start from the beginning. I could be wrong on that, but that's what my recollection. And then he became a very high level dark. So the darkness kind of evolved into like they had multiple lives as well. And then he was supposedly of Hitler's group during that regime. So he just kind of it just evolved like that.
Do you recall if you participated in castings for any other individuals?
I don't recall.
And I think you indicated the casting that Chad participated at would have been after Charles' passing.
Yes,
So to the best of your recollection, would that have been the one for Brandon Boudreaux?
that's what my recollection is.
And
Your
outside of the
recollection is
castings,
wonky
were
at
you ever
best.
told that anyone else was dark?
Yes.
Do you recall who else you were told was dark?
Yes, Corey, in a previous life.
So it was Charles.
Oh no.
That was
Hold
Brandon.
on. Let me explain this. No. Chad told everyone that Brandon Boudreaux, which is Melanie Pulaski's husband, they were married at the time, that he was essentially part of Hitler's, the actual Hitler from, World War II, part of his regime in another lifetime. So yes. Is it better for you, babe?
I hope so. I came back in, it was better, and then I dropped my phone and the SIM card came out. So, the data disconnected and it kicked me again. But I'm thinking that's better and also when I started talking just now, we weren't delayed, I don't think.
No, it sounds perfect to me from on this end. All right. Should I keep going, or
Okay,
did you want
awesome.
to add to the Nazi situation with Brandon?
I no, because I didn't actually even hear what she said where my SIM card came out. But I found that they're creative as hell. That's all I got to add.
Creative. You heard it here first, everybody. Allie's take on this whole situation. They creative as hell. All right, here we go.
Her brother, not Alex, but another brother of hers.
Hey,
Eventually her dad. And then Tylee, then Kay, then at the very end, JJ. And just random people that I can't recall, but those are the ones that I'm recalling at this moment.
Do you recall if you were ever told anything by Lori about Tammy's, whether she was light or dark?
If she was considered dark, it was right before she passed. So.
Were you ever told, with regard to Tylee being dark, did Lori ever tell you whether or not an evil spirit had entered Tylee?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately when that would have been?
Back up off the mic.
Sometime between
It's not
probably
a snack,
February,
Melanie.
March to June, somewhere. I believe when she was in Texas, maybe she shared with me this, which you probably can recall better when she was in Texas than I can, but it's probably like in May or April, whenever she was there. That's what it feels like. That's what it was.
Oh, it feels like that's what it was, does
Do you
it?
recall
Okay.
approximately, well, actually, let me back up. Did she ever tell you if JJ was taken over or possessed by an evil spirit?
Yes, she did.
And do you recall approximately when that would have been?
So, wait, sorry, I'm getting my September, was it September 2019? Is that when I was? Yeah. Yeah. September. Yeah. 2000, yeah. September.
In 2019?
Yeah.
You
And
can't.
was that the first time you heard
Hold
of
on a minute.
Jay possessed?
We're 43 minutes into this. I've actually been live for an hour and 13 minutes, but I can't let this go. It's going to bother me too much. You can't phone a friend on the stand, Melanie. You have to testify to what you know. Now stop playing like you don't know these things. We all heard that other phone call, ma'am. What a shame it can't be played in open court.
Mhm.
Stop
I
playing.
know, for real.
She makes me so angry. She frustrates me.
I would love to hear them play that phone call in open court. I would love that. That's
You'd
Me
mentioned
too.
that
Me too.
there were casting done after Charles had passed away. Do you know when Charles passed away?
I believe it was July 11th, 2019.
And you indicated previously, I believe, that Lori had talked about how both Charles and Tammy were supposed to pass away.
Correct.
Do you know what she told you regarding Tammy passing away?
She learned from Chad that he knew years ago that she would be passing away, early in her life.
Did that not strike you as odd or a red flag,
I
Melanie?
believe you already testified that Lori had moved back to Arizona before Charles passed away.
Correct.
Were you in contact with Lori when she came back to Arizona?
Yes,
Did you, in fact, stay at her house in July of 2019?
I did.
Do you recall what day you stayed at her house?
It was, I believe, the 10th or the night. Spend the night and night 10th, something like that.
Around the 9th or
Yeah.
10th?
Yeah.
At some point, were you going to stay there longer?
No, I just periodically stayed with her, but I didn't have like agenda or anything.
After
you had an agenda.
left,
Stop
do you know if
playing,
anyone
Melanie.
else ended up staying the night at her residence?
Yes, I was told Alex was coming the next day.
Do you know if that would have been the night before Charles died?
Right. Correct.
Did Lori tell you why she was going to have Alex stay there?
She told me that he needed to stay there to protect her because Charles was going to kill her.
Did Lori ever tell you how Charles died?
She did.
What did she tell you?
She told me that when he came into the house, he was argumentative with her. She had JJ in the car. She had her,
Correct,
his cell
Mel.
phone. She told me his cell phone was in the car that JJ was in, and that she said that the spirit told her to pick up the phone and grab it. She ran into the house, and he was really angry that he took her phone, and they were yelling and screaming. He was threatening her, she told me. And Tylee came out with a baseball bat. She told me to protect herself or her mom, or felt the need to protect them, and that it got heated, the conversation. And Alex interacted with him, and it became very argumentative. He said that he went to get his gun to protect them, and then he shot him.
And when you say he shot him, who shot Charles?
Alex.
So you know what's missing from this story here? According to their story, if we follow their line of events, their timeline, Tylee is the one with the bat. How did Charles get the bat from Tylee? I've never heard that explained, and would be my first question. They introduced the bat through Tylee, but they never talk about how Charles got the bat.
I think I've heard somewhere that he took it from Tylee. I can't remember. But remember, Charles was a minor league professional baseball player. If he hit Alex with that bat, I'm sorry. That's lies. I don't believe it for a second. But I'll have to look, Jen, and see if I can find anything on that, because I know I've heard somewhere that he took it from Tylee.
Okay. It's just interesting to me. And I'll say this, you're absolutely 100% correct. At the bare minimum, Alex would have needed medical attention. That's at the bare minimum if Charles had swung that bat.
Did Lori tell you they're not witnessing?
I don't think so.
Did she indicate that she was present for the altercation?
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Okay, he grabbed the bat. I just don't remember them
Do you
saying
recall
that
if Chad Daybell
specifically.
ended up visiting sometime after Charles' death?
Yes.
Okay,
Do you
I
recall
got
approximately
y'all.
when that would have been?
I would say within a week or two. I don't recall the time or day.
Did you observe
That's probably why
Chad
I
and Lori
blocked it
together
out
when
because
he
it makes
visited after
no
Charles'
sense.
death?
Yes.
Were you able to make any observations as to how Chad seemed?
They both seem very happy.
And when you say they both, was that Chad and Lori?
Correct.
And when we talk, you talked about she took his phone. Are you referring to, who is the she?
Lori said she grabbed his
And when you say,
Charles's phone, cell phone.
did Lori tell you where Tylee was during the shooting?
I just know she was around. I don't recall her expressing. She could have. I can't recall it right now who was present. I just know Alex was.
Do you recall if she told you where JJ was during the shooting?
It's how I
My
pronounce it,
memory
Mel
seems to be either
Lori.
he was in the car or I know at some point she took him somewhere,
But
but
that
it
is
might have
how
been
it's
afterwards.
pronounced,
I just don't
Lori.
recall.
Melanie, they asked you to speak up louder so that you make sure to project your
Did anyone
voice,
make
not
any
eat the
indication to
mic.
you regarding
Back up
feelings of
a
Charles
minute.
being dead?
No, I mean, you mean like sad feelings or
Yeah, any indication
feelings.
of feeling sad?
the appearance was not sad.
Did anyone indicate being happy or relieved that Charles was deceased?
If there was a betray of happiness and excitement, yeah.
There was a portray of happiness and excitement.
Prior to Charles
Girl.
passing, do you know if Chad and Lori had stayed in contact with each other?
Yes,
Do you know how frequently they would communicate?
All the
multiple
time.
times a day. That is my understanding.
I don't know if she even speaks
Did
English.
you ever observe Lori with more than one
She's
cell
just
phone?
making stuff
Yes.
up now.
Do you recall approximately how many cell phones you had seen her with?
At least two, maybe three.
Did she ever tell you what she used those phones for?
She had one phone just for Chad, and then her regular cell phone, and I can't remember. Seemed like she got another one.
Did you ever did
Hey, guidance.
did Lori ever
good to
tell
see
you whether or not she and Chad would meet up? Would ever meet while Charles was still alive?
Yes.
Did she tell you where they would meet?
One time she said they, after visiting her, or right after I visited her in Texas, she was to meet with him. And I believe they were in a hotel, according to my memory, and they were to go to temples together. That's what she said. There was another time she left town, but she indicated she went to Salt Lake, but my guess is she didn't. I don't know. She indicated she went to Salt Lake, so I don't know up there what happened there. She didn't tell me if they got together there, but
I want to object, move to strike. It looks like this is speculation. She doesn't know what Lori did. I will sustain that objection, so I'll instruct the jurors to please just don't consider that previous response as to the speculative answer.
Did Lori ever tell you directly that she and Chad would meet at hotels or motels?
yes,
And did they actually meet at, did she tell you that they met at hotels?
yes.
Did she tell you they would meet at motels?
I don't remember the wording.
One of the two.
Yeah,
The
right.
motel, hotel, holiday inn.
Did Lori ever indicate to you whether or not she and Chad were engaged in an affair?
She would just share that they were intimate.
Was this while Charles was still alive?
Yes,
Was this while Tammy was still alive?
yes,
Did Lori indicate whether or not she thought it was okay that they were engaging in
Yes,
intimate relations?
Mel.
she did. She felt it was according to God's will.
And did she tell you ever expand on why she believed it was according to God's will?
Yes, she explained that because they had been married in multiple lives and they had a mission that it was okay.
And when we talk about her having a mission, did she ever talk to you about her mission to leave the 144,000 in relation to her children?
She indicated that she was a part of that group, the 144,000, and at some point everybody in her family would pass on just because of tribulations. At some point she shared that with me, probably in the very beginning.
Pass on from tribulations. I know what the word tribulations means. I just don't know what Melanie is using it. I don't understand the context here. But that distracted me because now I can't even remember what I was going to say. Crap. And it was probably funny too. Here we go.
What you paused for? Oh, that's all right.
Did
I do that. Well,
Lori
you'll
or
remember.
No, babe, I paused you. No. Yeah, did you want to say something though? I mean, you want to talk about what she just said?
I was just saying I do that all the time. I think we still have a little bit of a delay because it was before you press play again. But I just said that. Yeah, I do that a lot, and hopefully you'll remember. It'll come back to you. But
I remembered.
that's all.
I remembered. I
See,
remembered.
I knew it.
Okay, so here comes Melanie talking about it's God's will for Chad and Lori to have carnal knowledge of one another. But isn't one of the 10 commandments specific? Doesn't it specifically address adultery? Am I wrong about that? I'm pretty sure.
Is what adultery? Say it again. I'm sorry.
Isn't thou shalt not commit adultery one of the 10 commandments?
Yep.
So now why would
I think
God
so.
make an exception? That makes no sense. Bruh, I'm done. I can't.
Kate
Let me look
any
that up, actually.
concerns to you
Look it
about
up,
her
babe.
ability
Put
to
it on our
continue?
list.
Um,
She broke at least 9 of
I believe
the 10 commandments.
for he was she just indicated he was difficult to handle, and so it was hard for her to do that and to be with Chad. So something in that communication like that.
Did she ever indicate a desire to quit caring for JJ or to get rid of him?
She did.
And what did she indicate to you?
She indicated that she was going to ask Kay if she could watch him from now on.
Alicia, she broke 11 commandments. She broke a commandment that we don't even know about yet, that wasn't even added.
And going back a little bit, when was the last time that you saw Tylee?
July, between July, before they left to Idaho. So she left, I think, in October, September, August.
Are
I
you
don't know, July or
singing the
August,
days of the
whenever,
month
right
song in your head, or the
Idaho.
days of the year song?
Do you recall approximately when they left?
You know this, Melanie. Come on.
Maybe August, August 2019.
August. Okay.
And when you say they, do you know who went to Idaho?
Yes, ATS.
Lori, Tylee, JJ, and
What-
Alex. Alex went up there too.
Oh, now
And when
you
you
have
say
a
Alex
great
went up there
memory.
too, do you
Okay.
recall if he moved at the same time as Lori?
Around the same time. It seemed like he might have gotten there maybe a week. I know she went to visit to find an apartment. It seems like he might have been there a week or so before. I know it's just around the same time.
Once she left to Idaho, did you ever be on the phone?
I did.
When you talked to her on the phone, did you ever hear Tylee or JJ or speak to one of them?
I heard Tylee in the background.
Do you recall if that was close in time to their move?
They were already moved in their apartment in Idaho.
After seeing Tylee before they moved, did you ever see Tylee again?
No.
Did you ever travel to Idaho to where Lori was living?
I did.
Do you recall approximately when that was?
In September, middle of the month.
And
They were all complicit
why did you travel up there?
in
A few reasons.
everything.
All of them.
She asked me
Correct.
In everything.
All
Because think
these
about this.
people.
Yes, and because they knew when they heard that someone was a zombie, for instance, Charles, they saw what happened. That phone call that Melanie references, hearing Tylee in the background, She talks at another time about saying she hears Tally say, "Not me, Mom," when Lori's saying something about her being
Yes,
a zombie. So they knew exactly what was going to
exactly.
happen to anyone who
Yes.
was a zombie. So,
Hey, Rapper, good to see you. Welcome in. Glad to have you. Yeah, they knew. This is why I'd be
mhm.
getting irritated with Melanie. And on that note, I'm going to let it play for 5 minutes because I need a moment outside.
Okay. Okay.
Reason is there was a seminar that I was interested in going to around not too far from her home, and also me and my boyfriend at the time were going to see his son as well when we were passing through.
When you came to Idaho, did you end up staying at Lori's residence?
I did.
Did David also stay at Lori's residence?
He did.
When you got there, did you see Tylee?
No,
Did you ask Lori where Tylee was?
I did.
What did Lori tell you?
She told me that she was at BYU and she moved her in with some female friends or people, at the dorms or somewhere at, BYU campus.
Do you recall how long you were in Idaho?
I believe a Thursday to a Monday morning.
While you were there, did you ever see Tylee?
No,
Did you ever hear anyone speak to Tylee?
no.
Did Lori make any other reference to Tylee while you were there?
I asked about her belongings. They weren't in, I didn't see them. She said she put them in storage. She really didn't talk about her much.
Did you see JJ when you were there?
I did.
Did Lori talk to you about JJ while you were there?
She did.
What did she tell you about JJ?
When I first arrived, she let me know that she said that JJ had now had an evil spirit in him. She had learned it from the day before.
Did she indicate how she knew that he had an evil spirit?
She said that she always went to Chad about this information and he would share it with her when it would happen.
Did she indicate whether or not she'd made any observations regarding the behaviors of JJ?
She did.
And what did she tell you?
She would tell me his behavior was more difficult, and she would tell me his speech was more intelligent, and she would tell me he would say things like, "I love Satan." She told me he would climb up on the refrigerator and go
Bullshit.
on top of the cabinets and acting just more aggressive, more. She just tried to explain how she believed he was changing and more of a demeanor, I guess.
Was this the first time that Lori had talked to you about someone changing once they were dark or possessed?
No,
And who else had she indicated had behavior or physical changes?
I remember Charles. She indicated he looked different. I'm just not remembering all the details, but she would say some things about their behaviors. She would share, like maybe they would just talk to her differently.
Do you recall approximately how many times before that interaction or that visit that you would have seen JJ?
I saw him a handful of times. I haven't tried to figure it out. Maybe 10 or 15 times in his life. I'm not sure.
Based on the times that you'd been able to observe him, did you notice any changes in JJ?
No,
Did he appear to be a typical 7-year-old?
a typical 7-year-old autistic kid.
And when you say a typical 7-year-old autistic kid, do you have experience with autistic children?
Some level.
And so you're aware or you've observed some behaviors before.
Yes.
And JJ's behavior seemed consistent with any autistic 7-year-old
Yes.
that you've observed?
Yes.
Did you ever see JJ climbing on counters or the ceiling?
Nope.
While you were there, did you ever observe JJ act out?
He seemed very upset one day, and so Chad took him upstairs, and and went into a bedroom with him, according to Chad.
And you were there towards the mid to end of September. Is that what you said?
So the day I left, I believe, was September 23rd. So the Thursday before that.
And Charles had passed away.
Correct.
Do you know if Tammy was still alive?
She was.
And you mentioned Chad being there.
Yes.
Was Chad there for the duration of your visit?
He would come in and out.
Do you know if he stayed the night while you were there?
No.
And I'll clarify that. No, you don't know, or no, he did not.
He did not.
So when JJ acted out, it was Chad, not Lori, that took him upstairs.
Correct.
And when Chad came, did Chad come back down from taking him upstairs?
He did.
Was JJ with him?
I think so.
What did Chad say regarding that?
He just quietly came down, and I asked him why his neck was so red, and he said that JJ had scratched his neck.
Did you have occasion to observe Chad and Lori during that visit?
I did.
Did you observe their interactions with each other?
I did.
What did you observe?
They're affectionate. He consoled her. He would kiss her on the cheek, hug her, and they had, fun together, singing and dancing too.
Did they appear fairly affectionate?
Yes,
Do you recall going to walk a track with them?
I did.
And what, if anything, did you observe when you went to do that?
Walked around the track with them, and then we went downstairs, and they showed me some beautiful pictures in one of the hallways at the campus. And then at the end, as we got in the car, Lori and I got in her car, and then he got in his car. They were affectionate. He hugged her and gave her a kiss.
Do you recall if you were told anything regarding the secrecy of Chad and Lori's relationship?
Yes.
And what were you told?
Chad had indicated to David that weekend that, he'd appreciate if he didn't share it with anybody about the relationship. He probably talked about it like that, but I can recall that moment.
And were you present for that conversation?
Yes.
During that conversation, did you indicate that was a conversation mainly between Chad and David?
Yes.
Did you overhear Chad say anything else regarding Tammy?
He said that he was still married to her, and I wasn't paying attention to the whole conversation, and I don't recall the whole conversation. He could have talked about how she was a good wife. I can't remember if David told me that or she did, but anyway, that's what it feels like that he said.
Okay, the reason I paused here is because this is this is important testimony, and we need to to discuss it. So the other day, so this would be Wednesday, Allie went live and she was reading live tweets from Nate Eaton while the trial was happening, and one of those tweets Nate wrote was about this Chad coming downstairs from being upstairs with JJ with scratches on his neck. And when I listened to Allie the first time, when I was on the dadgum panel, it's more that now I'm trying to distance myself like Melanie. But when I was on the panel and I heard her reading this out loud, I interpreted it wrong. I thought that JJ had scratches on his neck, but no, Chad did, which I find very, very, very telling.
Me too.
And
very telling, because what's he doing you have to be holding him down or something to get scratched like that. He's a 7-year-old kid. You're not changing diapers. You know what I mean? It's not like a newborn that will scratch you just because they're a baby and they don't mean to and they get excited or whatever. I don't know.
now this is the part I'm
Which he
fuzzy
does
on,
wear
Allie.
pull-ups and stuff, but Chad, I don't think was doing that.
No, but I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, when this event occurred, was this this was not the last time that she saw that Melanie saw JJ, because the last time was when Chad, when Chad came downstairs from being upstairs with JJ with scratches on his neck. And I when I listened to Allie the first time, when I heard her reading this out loud, I interpreted it wrong. I thought that JJ had scratches on his neck, but no, Chad did, which I find very, very, very telling. And
The last time was when
Or was it?
Alex,
Is this
right.
all the same night?
No, it's all the same. I believe it's all the same day and visit, but it was the last time she saw JJ technically was when Alex was carrying him and he was appeared to be asleep.
Yes. Yes,
So
that I remember. So, but it's all the same. Okay, that's what I was kind of confused on with her, and because she so much tries to distance herself from everything. And this is why Alex and I think most people feel the way they do about Melanie Gibb, because Melanie witnessed this this event, right, where Chad was with JJ in some capacity. Whether he was alone in that room or not, I don't know. And I don't really think Lori goes into it or Melanie goes into it. And I don't think they even ask about it. Maybe they will on Cross, but I haven't heard it yet. But it doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, in order for somebody to scratch your neck or any place on your body, you have to be up. That's close. That you have to be in somebody's bubble in order for that to happen. The
yep,
two people have to be in each other's bubble. And in my opinion, her knowing this, and then it makes what she did later worse when she initially did not tell the cops what she knew. That's why we feel the way we do about Melanie, because of this baloney right here. It's
yep,
absolute baloney.
exactly. And think about this. She sat down and did those interviews with Nate Eaton and all the things. You never thought about this like before now? I don't know. I have nothing for her because exactly of that. Because she was complicit for a long time before she wasn't.
Exactly. Exactly. And she wasn't sitting around questioning things like she wants ever like she's testifying to. Can I prove that with 100%? I can't obviously know what's going on in a person's mind, but you can gain some insight into what a person is thinking by their actions. Her actions are not those of somebody who is questioning things.
Nope.
Her actions are those of somebody who is participating in things. And this is why I don't have nothing for
Exactly.
Melanie, because of this malarkey right here. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Jamie Ann. That's
Do
so
you know,
sweet of you. I
has Lori
appreciate
ever
that.
indicated to you if the date September 2nd has any kind of special meaning?
Yes.
And what has she indicated to you?
She indicated to me that that was the date that Moroni put her in a temple.
Do you recall the last time you saw JJ?
I recall seeing him the Sunday night when he was being taken upstairs by Alex in his bedroom. That's the last time I recall seeing him.
And do you know what date that was?
I believe that was the 22nd.
Were you still there you left on that next month or the following day, the Monday?
Correct.
Did you see JJ that next day?
I did not. I don't recall seeing him.
Did Lori say anything to you about JJ?
I don't remember her talking to me about him, other than she was talking about some of his behaviors and things like that.
That's not true. Didn't Lori tell Melanie that JJ was with Kay at one point?
Didn't who tell Melanie that JJ was with Kay? Say it again. I'm sorry.
Didn't
Bentley's dad was
didn't
looking for his phone. I was trying to
Oh, okay. Didn't Lori tell Melanie that JJ was with Kay at one point?
Yeah, that is she even on that phone call that's kind of the part that's so like how do you even believe this? You were told actually it was right before she was told to lie. I think that she was told that he was with Kay and Zulema was also told that Kay had JJ too, is what they claim now on the stand.
Right. But then all of the sudden Kay
And
is gonna kidnap JJ, and so he has to be in witness protection.
Yeah, it makes literally no sense. And remember, Melanie even says at one point that she helped Lori come up with a story about her being sick so Kay would take JJ. That's what she says on that phone call. So
Yes.
it's all twisted and messy and foggy and yeah.
Bruh.
Prior to Charles dying, did Lori ever talk about? Do you recall what she'll do?
Specifically, I remember we were in her kitchen after Charles passed. No, right before he came to town. She told I said, why would he want to kill you? And she said, well, I have, I think she said $1 million or a few $1 million of insurance on her. And he wanted that. But then she said she found out that he had changed the policy and a lot of that money to his sister Kay.
So a lot of the money, if Lori died, would go to Kay, according to her.
Sorry, maybe I confirm. If Charles passed away, it would go to Kay. That's what I meant to say.
And do you recall when she told you she had learned that?
It felt like that was the first time. I recall that being the first time we talked about it, the day before he was killed.
Did you ever?
All right, hang on a minute. This is another part of the story that doesn't make sense. So Melanie is saying that Lori was aware before Charles passing, or Charles unaliving, I should say, because that's really what it was. Before Charles was unalived, that Lori was aware that Kay had become the beneficiary of the insurance policy. If that's true, then why did Lori make that phone call? And you can hear it in her voice.
Mm-hmm. And she's also like there's text. I think that's part of the stuff that was released yesterday was her like talking about like I'm not getting the life insurance, but I still get Social Security and that.
Yes,
like after
$4,000 a month in Social Security is what she was going to get. Girl,
I don't know. It's so much, and yet I don't know.
It's interesting because that Melanie says this because most people believe that part of the motive for unaliving Charles was to get her paws on the insurance money, the life insurance money. So I just don't, Melanie,
Or talked to Lori about why she didn't just get a divorce?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She told me that was not the Lord's will for them to get a divorce because
hey, Ellie 79.
It seemed, especially when I asked about Chad getting divorced, it seemed that the Lord didn't want him to because he would be penalized for that.
Oh, Chad's defense is going to
do you know what they meant, or did they ever explain to you?
Oh yes.
What?
Well, remember he showed up to watch in person.
Something to that effect was his
Exactly.
exaltations or his standing with God.
Did you ever see JJ again after the night of September 22nd?
I don't recall seeing him.
Good night, Mel. Thanks for being here, babe.
Did you ever return to visit Lori in Idaho after that visit?
No.
Thank you,
Did you stay in contact with Lori?
Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Do you frequently, occasionally? Do you remember?
Occasionally.
What about Chad? Did you stay in contact with him?
Oh, yes. I mean, well, he contacted me, but I didn't contact him. I can recall.
You stayed in contact,
Do you recall any specific times that Chad contacted you?
Yes. It seemed like it was a few days in November before Thanksgiving, and he called me when I was in Utah, and he told me that the Rexburg police would be calling to not answer the phone.
Did he expand on that as to why he didn't want you to answer the phone?
Well, I had to ask him a few questions.
And what did he tell you?
He said that that the police were questioning at Lori's apartment where JJ was, And then I asked him, I said, he's not with Kay? And he said, no, he's not. And he had a nervous voice, and I asked him if he was, and he said yes. And he told me that Lori will be contacting me shortly after that.
And you say you asked Chad if JJ was with Kay.
Mhm.
Why did you ask him that?
Because that's what I was told. That's where he went. So why
Oh,
would
there we go.
Kay be
See, that's
looking for
what I
him if
thought.
Kay had JJ?
Do you remember who told you that he was with Kay?
Lori did.
Did Lori tell you how she got JJ into Kay's custody?
She said they met at the airport, and they met together, and she asked to watch JJ.
Do you recall approximately when Lori told you that?
I would say within a few weeks after I left. I don't recall.
And when you say after you left, are you referring to that September visit?
Correct.
Did Lori in fact reach out to you?
I believe it's possible I reached out to her and asked her.
What did Lori say to you?
She told me that she met up with Kay in the airport, and that she told her that she had cancer and that she needed for JJ to be watched. And she said, okay. And that's the gist of it.
And to the best of your understanding, Lori's indication was Kay had agreed to take JJ.
Correct.
And going forward to the date that Chad called and asked you not to speak with law enforcement, did Lori in fact reach out to you?
She did.
What did she say?
She said that the police had come by, and she told the police that I had JJ. She told me to go to that. She told the police that I took JJ to a movie called Frozen, I believe, and just take random pictures of kids running around at the movie theater.
Was JJ with you?
No.
Did law enforcement try to reach out to you?
They did.
Did you pick up or respond to them initially?
Not initially.
And why did you not respond to them?
I wasn't sure what in the world to do.
Nobody told you. And
All right, I got to stop right here because this takes the cake. Okay. In her own testimony, and I have to say for Melanie's part, this part of her story has been fairly consistent. Okay. This whole what Chad told her, what Lori told her, and all the things, right? So you're telling me this is the part I get really irritated with, because she's testified here that Lori told Melanie that that Lori gave JJ let me start again. The story that Melanie was told by Lori is that Lori met Kay at the airport and gave her JJ and told Kay that she had cancer and that's why she needed JJ to be with her. Okay? Which
Yes.
which Melanie knew, as far as the cancer part, she knew that was a lie. Because if she didn't think it was, if she thought it were true, wait a minute. There are no follow-up questions. If your good friend comes to you and says, I had to send my youngest child to live with his grandmother because I have cancer. Okay. Wouldn't you ask some questions about that? Like, what kind of cancer? Oh my gosh, what are you going to do? How can I help? Yada, 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 yada. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that.
How are you feeling?
Yes. How are you feeling? Blah, blah, blah. All those things, right? The fact that Melanie did not ask any follow-up questions, right, to me says that she knew that Lori lied. Period. She knew that the story about the cancer was a lie. And yet,
I completely agree.
no red flags went up to her with her. She didn't think, hey, so she has all of this information prior to the Rexburg Police Department contacting her. And yet she still lies. And this is why people have a big, huge problem with
me too.
Melanie.
That's such a good point, though, that because you would ask so many questions and regularly. You would ask them on a regular basis, like, "Hey, what are you up to? How you feeling? Do you
Yes.
need any help? You want somebody to go with you to the doctor? I don't know, things like that." But she 100% knew. She knew I'm telling you, the moment that this little group heard that JJ was a zombie, they knew where JJ went. They knew where he was going. I'm sorry,
Exactly.
you cannot convince me of any different.
No, because it was part of their belief system, which,
Yep.
whatever, but I mean, it was part of their belief system. So it doesn't matter whether we believe it or not. It's what they believed, and they believed that stuff. And so
Yep.
that's why I am incredibly, this is why I have nothing for Melanie over here, Melanie Fib, because of this malarkey right here. Here we go.
Okay.
Just gonna do it like another 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna end the stream, but we are gonna finish this,
Okay.
just not today.
Anything previously regarding law?
Um, she,
You check
I'm
in
not
on your friend.
sure this with me, but she told me that they were dark and that they were, after her, like Satan was after her with the other dark entities that they talked about. So they called
Melanie, you know when they shared this with you. It's on the phone call that you recorded.
dark translated beings, I believe. But I don't know exactly when she shared that with me, but at some point she did.
Did she tell you anything about other people being after her?
Kay and her brother, her father, and I think.
And her brother, would that have
Oh,
been
her
Alex
brother.
Cox?
No, her other brother. I forgot his name.
So
Adam.
when Chad's called and asked you not to speak to law enforcement, and then Lori's called you,
Mhm.
you don't answer law enforcement right away because you're not sure what to do.
Right. She told me, I forgot to share this. She told me that JJ's life was in danger, that Kay was trying to kidnap him from her. That's what she shared with me. I wasn't sure. I was more perplexed and probably in shock a bit.
What are you, girl? What do you mean you were perplexed and shocked at this story?
And Allie says, and I got to hear your thoughts on this. Now, I know you think Chad didn't really believe, or was
I've changed my
bullshitting
mind.
somewhat. Okay. So who do you think they believed? And because I believe, like, especially Melanie Zulema, they believed it. Alex wholeheartedly believed it.
Okay.
What
I've
do you
changed
think?
my mind after I'm going to stop sharing now. So none of because I'm want to end this around like 2 o'clock, but hold on. So, when I was listening to Heather Daybell's interview, she talked about
Mhm.
Chad Daybell's near death experience, is both of them. Okay. And how the story started out and then how it later evolved and kept evolving. And the co-host of Hidden True Crime made an excellent
Mhm.
point. Okay. So Heather believes that the reason that Chad um s intensified, what's the word I used before? Whatever the word was I used before.
Escalated.
Escalated, thank you. His see, that was a check. Allie is definitely paying attention to me. Thank you, Allie. Um
You're welcome.
Chad escalated and the story evolved because this is what Heather believes, because he saw the success that Julie Rowe was having with her near death experience story. Okay. And that
Oh.
his intention was to make money off of that story, and in order to do it, he had to exaggerate it. But there's another little wrinkle in there too that's interesting. It had to be published as fiction in order for it to be sold in church owned bookstores. So
Oh.
there are, so, and then the co host said, and I thought this was interesting. He said that memory is a funny thing, and that if a person tells a story enough times, eventually they'll start to believe it. And so I
Right.
actually think that on some level, yes, Chad did believe that these things occurred, because I
See,
think
now
what
I really have to go listen to that interview.
you do,
Sorry.
you do, because I really, really, really think that he, in order to sell it to other people, you have to believe it yourself and you have to be convincing. And so the more he told these stories, the more he talked about what he could and what he could do and all of those things, the more he believed in the delusion that he and the world that he created for himself. And that's what I think. And also, it was way, way earlier in the chat that somebody asked, how could they do these things and not think that they would get caught? And I thought about that. I've been thinking about that for a long time, and this is why I want to talk more in depth about Heather Daybell's interview, because
Hmm.
she talks about Chad's place in Rexburg. Okay, because it didn't come. That's not where he's originally from. And she and her family moved out there first. They wanted to separate themselves from both of their families, not for anything particularly nefarious, but when you have her Heather's feelings were that they both, when problems occurred in their marriage and in their relationship, they ran to their respective families, and that they both felt like if they didn't have that safety net, that it would force them to work out their issues themselves. So when Chad announced that he
Right.
was moving to Rexburg, it wasn't a good thing. They were not happy about it. But he ingratiated himself in the Mormon community in Rexburg, so much so that Heather had said a few things to people in the church, and they were
So is
dismissed.
she Mormon too? Are they all
They are all
like Heather
Mormon.
and Chad's brother?
Yes, all Mormon. So she said some things to people in the church, not like um, fellow members of the church, but people in positions of power in their ward. Okay, so and she was dismissed, and Chad's word was taken over hers. And so I actually think that Chad did think that because of his standing in that community, that he would be able to get away with this. I think that's exactly what he thought. I do.
I think so too. I think so too. And that is part of why I think that, like we were talking about earlier with Lori's ego, part of why I think that had to be part of the attraction was because of his standing in that community, and oh my God, I don't know. I was sitting here thinking for like 5 minutes if I thought of the right word that you were, I don't know if I did. I don't think
You
so,
did.
but
Escalated was the
okay.
word.
Okay, good. I was like, wait, double thinking over myself. But yeah, so I think that it's crazy the world
It
they lived in, and I think you're right. He thought in that little, he was in a bubble in this community, and he thought he would. I don't think he ever would have put them on his property if he didn't.
No, and I think but I also think that there's an element of control there, um, why he put them on his property, because that way he could watch. He would always know where they were, and they wouldn't be somewhere out in the world, where somebody could stumble on it,
Yep,
you know?
absolutely.
And there was what another component of Heather Daybell's interview that I found fascinating is she is what she has to say about Tammy Daybell and the dynamic between Tammy Daybell and Chad Daybell, but more importantly, between Tammy Daybell and literally everybody else except for like her family. I found it to be fascinating, and I really, 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 really want to get. I really want to talk about that. So I'm gonna have to figure out some type of schedule because I want
Yeah.
to talk about this.
I want to talk about it too. I want to go listen to it. And I also want to talk about, you know, the the there's there's rumors that they were doing just, uh, that they were swinging and things like that, and I think
Hmm.
that like that'd be a really interesting topic to dive into too.
That's a topic that is brought up in this interview. Not
Oh, okay.
swinging, polygamy.
Okay.
So I thought that
And
was I had been waiting to see if it would come up, and it wasn't a question that was asked. It was something that she volunteered. So, um,
oh,
yes. And
oh
so I
yeah,
found
this
that to
will
be
be really
incredibly
good.
yes. So I think what we should do is finish this up Monday night since there isn't any court for Vallow on Monday.
Okay,
What do you
we can
think?
do
Do you
that.
have plans?
Yeah.
Okay. I
No,
know we got to do the recap too of Leticia, but
I
I
think we could
do
do both.
think I think we could. I think we could as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. That sounds good to me.
Me too. I can't wait for tonight. You guys, Allie is going to have me on panel with truth. Her, it's going to be me, Allie, Truth Teller, Checkmate Humanity. Is that
Yeah.
everybody or am I missing? Okay,
Yep.
it'll be the four of us, and she's got several fascinating topics for us to talk about. Very interesting, and so I'm super excited to do that tonight with these girls. I like them all. And I want to hear everybody's opinions on this too, because they're deep, um, they're deep subjects that Allie is going to broach, and I'm excited to talk about them. And
Oh, I'm so excited.
yes, so it's going to be 8 Eastern, right? Allie, 8, it's 8.
Is that yeah, I think so. I don't know. Let me double check what time it's set for. Hold on.
I can't remember if
Oh
it's
my
8 or
gosh. Okay,
8:30.
at 8 o'clock. I'm sitting
Okay.
here on the porch, and we have these lizards everywhere here. And there's some that come in my house and live in my plants and everything. Two of them walked up to each other at the same time. I've never seen this, and they started flaring these big red things out of their neck. Like I've never seen these things come out of their neck, but like they're these big red puffs. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Jurassic
What in the
Park.
world? It's
I think those
crazy.
are the I
So
think
sorry.
those are the males. Yes, 8 tonight,
Oh,
Modine, yeah. I have lizards here in Florida, and when 2 males are around each other, they do those little push-up things. They look like they're doing push-ups, and then they flare out their little
oh wow.
side
How cool
things.
is that?
Mhm.
See, in West Virginia, we didn't have these kind of creatures, so it fascinates me. I'm like, oh my
No,
gosh, that's so cool.
y'all just have mosquitoes that will carry off your patio furniture because 'cause they're so big. That's how they are in Florida too, and Texas. Texas has some crazy big bugs there.
Oh, I don't like that. Don't love it. All right, beautiful Jen. Well, thank you for having me on for this.
Of
And
course.
yeah,
Who else am I gonna and then you're gonna have more if you can't get enough of this dynamic duo, brace yourselves because on Sunday night we gonna roast Leticia, her
hmm
interrogations and all those things. Mhm.
I cannot wait. It's gonna be fun. So
Yes.
yeah.
A little levity from the tragic, deep, dark facts of these cases because they
Yeah.
break my heart. But thank you guys all for being here. I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, would you please give your girl a thumbs up? It keeps me in the algorithm, moves me up. You get notified better. I would appreciate it. If you want to click the thumbs down, I don't think it keeps you out of the algorithm if the thumbs down if you just want to see what it does. But whichever whichever floats your boat. Do what you want. So have a great rest of
Oh
your
my God, he's doing the
Saturday.
push-ups. I know what
See?
you're talking about. He's doing them. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Crazy lizards.
Oh my God.
I love it when they do
Wow.
that because it's so cute. It's
It
just like
is
they're just,
cute. I've never seen them do that.
yeah, they're flexing. Because they're getting their mate. They're trying to attract a mate.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's all right. And thank you for having me. And I'll see you
you're
tonight.
welcome, babe. I'll
And bye,
see you
you guys. Thanks for
tonight.
being here.
Bye,
Uh,
babe. All
okay. Bye.
right.
Bye.
So yeah,
You guys
that's
have to
what
come here. Sorry.
that's what we're gonna do tonight. I'll see you over on Allie's channel, the Real Talk with Alex. It's Real Talk with Alex. I'll see you over there tonight at 8 Eastern. I can't wait. Have a great, great, great rest of your Saturday. Okie dokie. Bye. I think you can, Meep. I think you can. I think you can hit dislike and then hit like.